I want to pivot to a very specific, I want to kind of double click on one particular bureau, and I'm going to tell you why. So I want to talk about the police bureau because, you know, there have been different initiatives that have happened, from defund the police initiatives to don't shoot was huge throughout Portland. There have been a lot of criticism, you know, of the police division, the bureau at large. It's led to some hurt feelings across the board, from community members to police officers, and higher vacancy rates for police officers. Now, you are not going to be the police commissioner. That's the mayor's gig, right?
Yep.
But as an elected official, right, like as a city commissioner, you are a leader within the city enterprise, and what you say, how you treat them, how you engage, and your thoughts about them impacts the entire greater city area. From vacancies, right, recruitment initiatives, to, you know, the way in which policing happens throughout the area. So I want to hear your perspective, recognizing you are not the police commissioner, but you have an impact, and there are votes that have to happen in order for certain things to, you know, budget to get approved and earmarked for police officers. What's your perspective on policing in the city of Portland, the police force, policing the community, and the different populations that are policed? Give me your perspective.
Yeah, so I'm going to start at a high level, and one of the drivers of why I'm running, right? So I truly see a crisis in livability in the city of Portland right now, and one or two on that list is crime. I mean, we are experiencing historic homicide rates in the city of Portland. In the Black community in particular, 47% of our victims are Black right now, in a population of roughly the population is 6%.
That's right.
And so all Portlanders are struggling with crime, but some of our most at risk are the most negatively impacted by that.
Right.
And you go down a notch. You know, the wealthy can privatize police. They can hire private security. They fly to the suburbs. But our more marginalized groups, whether racial or economic, in either case, that's not so easy, right? You can't just you can't just privatize police. And so I start with the assumption that we are in a public safety crisis that needs to be addressed very directly.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean in policing? Well, they are, you know, for better or worse, you know, they are sort of the front end of the criminal justice system, right? They're where the rubber hits the road. And there are a lot of other pieces involved in the criminal justice system that impact policing. But at the end of the day, that's the first, you know, that's the rubber hits the road.
Right.
And so I start with the assumption, I look at historic levels of staffing right now. We don't have enough police on the city, in the city of Portland.
And the city has been growing.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, you know, and by some counts, we're 300 to 400 police under what would be optimal. You know, and I could go in the data if you want it, but it's like,
Right, I don't need to. I want to keep up here at the management, like the strategy, the philosophy.
Well, it's important to, you know, agreed upon facts, or at least putting those on the table. And it's like, I work on the assumption we have a public safety crisis. We don't have enough police officers.
Okay.
Those are two starting points.
So if I'm a police officer, or, you know, I'm thinking about becoming a police officer, or becoming a police officer in the city of Portland, if I'm considering voting for you, how will you treat, or how do you see the police? Like that division of human beings who show up every day and they run to the fire, they run to the chaos, they run to the crisis, you know, and they put themselves on the line. And I want to say this, and be clear about my stance on police. I used to be the chief human resources officer for the city of Portland. I was HR for the police, right? I helped to hire cops throughout the police force, and I've seen amazing police officers, and I know that there are some police officers who are not amazing and who are not great human beings. And I personally believe that those are the folks who have to be held accountable to, you know, treating people disproportionately. But I want to call the police if a crisis happens.
Right.
I want to call 911. And I want for them to show up and not shoot me because I'm Black when they show up, right? Like I want both. I feel like both can happen concurrently. And so I want to know, how would you talk to a cop who's thinking about becoming a police officer in the city of Portland, and they're thinking about if they should vote for you or perhaps vote for someone else? How do you see them? How do you see the police force in the city?
Well, I think the first piece here is I will be fair. right? And so I think one of the challenges in the city of Portland and a lot of cities in the West in recent years is there is political expediency and a rush to judgment, right? The rhetoric that comes out of City Hall so quickly before we know the facts, right? And anytime there's an instance, or an alleged instance, you'll have someone get up there and start criticizing and throwing rhetorical bombs. And I'm not going to do that. You know, I am a son of a judge, and with that comes a real belief that you've got to pause before you judge. You've got to let the facts come out. You've got to create space for process. So first and foremost, I'm going to be fair and not rush to judgment. We're going to respect process, and that it's never that doesn't sound sexy or exciting, but that is to create space for the facts to come out for us to really assess. The flip side of that is if you mess up, you'll be accountable in the city of Portland, and I'm not promising to take hands off on anybody stepping over the line of their responsibilities, particularly those holding the gun. So I'll treat you fairly. I won't rush to judge. I'll listen. I'll get down and what you're experiencing. I mean, I have talked to so many police officers, and since I kind of announced my candidacy, and it looked like I had some viability as a candidate, and I will listen. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be accountable, and you have a really serious job. So it's a very important job, and there's going to be some higher standards for you sometimes than ordinary citizens.
Yep,
and
absolutely. You have a gun.
You have a gun. You can you make a mistake, and someone can die.
Someone can die.
But there are other pieces. I think police. I recognize that this city cannot get out of its crime challenges right now in the short term, and really forever, without a functioning criminal justice system, and police are a key piece of that, right? So I recognize the necessity, the crucial role they play in society. They are absolutely crucial to a functioning city, and they'll be treated as such.
Right on.
But that doesn't mean they get to run from accountability either, right?
That's right.
We got to be able to do both. Another piece, I think I'd love to see more Portlanders join the Portland Police. Right
on.
I mean, this is an ongoing, long challenge for any urban police department. Where you recruit most of your talent, it often comes from the suburbs, but there is. Anytime someone's got skin in the game, when they're from the neighborhood, they understand it.
Community policing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't allow the dehumanization of both sides, right? And so and by that I mean the police are from somewhere else, and they're doing something to Portlanders or this neighborhood or this community, right? And the more we can bridge that gap, the better. So I think part of it in recruiting and talking to people that are, we'll do our best to get people from the city to consider that job, and make some active efforts to recruit.